welcome to JG's Fight Talk, sponsored by Rich's Boxing and Limitless Creations. And with me now, the man of the moment, Ty Tomlin. How you doing, Ty?
Sure. Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Honestly, my setup just seems minimal now.
Yeah, like I said, I'm very fortunate to have this setup that I do. I've got some great people that support me here with Shop Media. They set all this up for me, so shout out to them.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And, you know, before we get started, where did short fuse come from?
Short fuse actually came from my amateur career, and I guess it's kind of spilled over into my professional career. When I'm in the ring and I get hit with a good shot, it's like people say they can just see something change in my eyes. It's almost like a fuse gets lit. That's normally I come forward hard, put the pressure on a guy, and always pick the pace up a little bit, to say the least. So that's where a short fuse kind of came from. It also comes from my dad. We joke around all the time. He's got a bit of temper, so maybe pass that along in the bloodline.
Yeah. Oh, mate, that's not a bad thing to have when you're boxing, to be fair. So,
Not at all, but I like to think of it as a controlled rage. You can't go too hard in some of these fights. You don't want to blow your load early in the early rounds. You don't want to try to throw too hard, leave yourself open. So it's a controlled rage that's used to your advantage.
yeah, no, definitely, definitely. Thanks, Dad, for passing it on.
Yeah, thank you, Dad. Shout out to my dad, Daryl.
So, where did it all begin for you then, Ty? When did boxing come along for you?
Yeah, boxing started about age 9 for me, 9 or 10 years old. I actually wanted to get into MMA when I first started. Boxing wasn't on my radar. But we found out you couldn't compete in MMA in Tennessee until you were a certain age. I think it was maybe 12, 14. And in boxing, you could with USA Boxing. So we started going to a local gym. It actually wound up being the gym of is Caleb Plant, the IBF, yeah, super middleweight title right now. So we started with them. His dad was my first coach, Richie Plant, Ashland City, Tennessee. And we went with them for a couple of years. We bounced around to a couple of gyms in Clarksville and Hendersonville, around the Nashville area. And finally, we figured we could do it ourselves after a couple of gyms closed down. Me and my dad had learned enough. My brother was also a touted amateur boxer. So we kind of started our own gym. At one point, we had about 30 people coming to our gym there at the house. We had a big setup in a garage with a ring and everything, which that's kind of still our setup now and where I train. I've got a big building outside my house. I can take 20 steps out of my bedroom and go to the gym, so I have no excuses not to train as hard as I do.
Yeah, yeah. Did you find that difficult initially? Because you're so close to home, it's almost like the temptation just to think, "Oh, I've had enough," and to walk indoors.
Well, there were those temptations, especially some days after a hard day of work or something. You're tired,
Mm.
but you know, if you take this sport seriously like I do, you know that you can't cut any corners. You have to go to the gym. You have to put that work in if you want to be the best. And I put that work in, and I'm slowly climbing the ladder towards that, I think.
Yeah. So when did you turn pro then?
I turned pro in 2019 on May 4th. It's actually coming up on the anniversary of that. It'll almost be 2 years now.
Yeah, and I suppose you don't look back at all.
No, no, not at all, not at all. I had a great professional debut. I think I knocked my guy out in like 30, 40 seconds. I just hit him with a clean overhand and dropped him. We've always had an amazing fan base that's followed us. The place went absolutely crazy, and they've always followed me through all my different fights. They'll travel to Tampa, Florida, where we fought, Biloxi, Mississippi, and just shout out to them. I know we're gonna pack the place out in Murfreesboro, my next one on May 14th too.
Yeah, I saw you got one coming up. So
Yeah.
looking for that 11th win.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and
Hopefully that seventh knockout as well.
yeah, exactly. Hell of a record so far. And as we
Thank you
say,
so much.
you only turned pro 2019, and yet
Mhm.
you already rattled through 10, and you've done
Yeah.
two already this year.
Yeah, no, we've been very active, especially during COVID. A lot of people haven't been as fortunate as we have, but we had about a 4 to 5 month break there where I didn't fight, and I didn't know what to do with my life. We've been fighting so much, I didn't know what to do with the free time. So I just stayed in the gym and I worked hard, and when those opportunities got presented to us, I took every single one of them. I think I fought 5 times in a span of 6.5 months. So
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy there for a minute, training camp back to back to back. But I'm excited to be where I'm at now, and there's a lot of good things coming to us.
Yeah, and as you say, you had your announcement, was it yesterday or a couple of days ago?
It was yesterday. Well, heck, they all blend in at this point. I think it was Tuesday morning. I think.
So do you want to share it with the fans of the UK who might be unaware?
Yeah, absolutely. I just signed a promotional contract with DeBella Entertainment. I think it's going to be a 3-year deal with a 2-year option on it.
Okay, cool.
Mr. DeBella has promoted a lot of amazing fighters from the past when he was at HBO, and some of the guys that he's with now. I think he's going to be somebody that's going to build our career at the right speed. You know, I'm still a young guy. I'm only 21 years old. I'm not jumping right into title fights immediately. I've still got maybe 2 or 3 years before I get those under my belt. But I think that's why it's going to build us at the right speed and put me in meaningful fights and do the things we want to do in the future.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've got your head screwed on. You know where you want to go. You know what you want to do. And
yes, sir, a tunnel vision and a clear path. Always say
yeah.
no plan Bs, otherwise plan A won't work out.
Well, that's it. You know, at the age of 21, as we say, you're on the verge of 11 fights. How many more fights are you looking at potentially having this year? I suppose I know it's all around COVID and all the rest of it, but what are you sort of looking at?
Well, I've got that one coming up on May 14th. That'll be one. And then hopefully I can get 2 more in. I'm going to try to have a fight every 3 months, I think is what we're planning going forward. I'm not quite to that point where I have 2 fights a year. That's normally these guys with titles and everything else. They'll have like a 3-month training camp. They'll have a big fight. Then they'll take a couple of months off and continue to get better. So I think I'm going to have 3 a year going forward.
Yeah. No, you've definitely got to pace yourself, haven't you? You know, when you're young, it's getting that volume up, isn't it? Getting the fights behind you, and then the more experienced ones coming down the line, don't they? And the tougher fights, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely. Tougher fights for sure. You're going to want longer training camps. I know that we've got a lot of opportunities to go spar out in Houston, Texas. We're going to be out in Vegas soon. So the more we can do that, the better sparring we can get. We're going to need a little bit longer training camps. Like I said, just continue to get better. I'm a young guy. I have a lot of things to learn. I'm not a perfect fighter. I'm a really good fighter. But I just need that time to get better and really chase those world titles when I get the opportunity.
Yeah, and it sounds like, well, if you keep going the way you're going, mate, they're not going to be too far away at all, are they?
Hey, I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah, so is there anyone in the sport in particular that you sort of look to, or anyone that you like to watch?
Oh, yeah, I watch all the top guys here lately. I like Enos, his fight that he just had against Sergey, that was incredible. I'm always watching guys like Manny Pacquiao that have been doing it for so long at such a high level. Canelo Alvarez and all the amazing fights he's having here recently, fighting such high-level competition. I'm trying to think of some young guys, but I don't want to say anybody in my weight class. That's the thing. There's a lot of amazing guys in my weight class, like Teofimo Lopez and Gervonta Davis. Of course, you're going to watch those guys and try to pick up every little thing you can. Yeah. So, of course, somebody, like Caleb, who's a hometown guy. We don't really stay in contact anymore. I'm always keeping up with him.
Yeah, you don't want to give them too much of a shout out, do you? When you know, it's getting to the point where you think, I'm starting to build momentum here. You never know what's around the corner, do you?
Yeah, absolutely not. Never.
And obviously Lopez has got his big fight coming up.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I think about that fight. I don't know. I think it's honestly a 50-50 fight. I really like George, so.
What do you reckon? If I gave you, I'll have to say dollars. If I gave you $1, who would you put it on?
I feel like Teofimo's about to get upset. I just have that feeling in my gut. I have that feeling in my gut for some reason. He's a young guy, and he handled himself very well coming up, and then he got that title shot, and he won the big fight. And I don't know, until you see a guy win the next big fight, you start to question their hunger a little bit, especially with it all happening so fast. So if he comes and has another good performance, I'll never question him again. Yeah. But I don't think this is going to be a bit of a pushover for him. I think Kambosa is really coming for him. I saw that look in his eyes, and I've got that look myself, so I know how hungry he is for that shot.
Yeah. And he, a lot of people have written him off already because, they're on the kind of the Lopez train now, and it's kind of, this he's just blown away one of the pound for pound.
Yeah,
You
one
know,
pound for pound best in the world.
yeah,
It's hard not to jump on the train.
yeah.
You're right about that, but I don't know. I have to see one more good performance out of him, then I won't question him again.
And obviously, another big fight coming up: Canelo versus Billy
Oh
Joe
gosh,
Saunders.
yeah.
I don't know how you see it. Obviously, we might see it differently over here because we see Billy Joe
Yeah,
in a slightly different light. But
yeah, I feel like there's a little more bias on y'all side. Either I hope it's a great fight. I just hope it's a great fight. I've seen Canelo just kind of walking through everybody here lately, so I really want to see him get tested, and I hope Billy Joe is the guy to do that.
yeah, it's definitely going to be a tough one, mate. And well, hopefully in time to come, we're going to see you on those sort of undercards coming
Oh
through on
yeah.
those big fights. And you know, like you were saying, Vegas isn't too far away. You know, we can see you in where you deserve to be.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time at this point. Like I said, I'm gonna continue to build some stuff around home. We've got a great fan base, and Mr. DeBella said that we want to bring some big fights to Tennessee. So hey, maybe we'll bring some of those Vegas fights to Nashville, to Cheatham County. That'd be incredible too. But I definitely expect to see myself on those undercards before too long.
Yeah, maybe one day the UK.
Hmm. Hey, hopefully the UK one day. I'll come kick it with y'all.
Yeah, it's all happening over here. You know, Eddie Hearn's doing some pretty amazing stuff.
Oh man, I
Well,
saw that
all over the
he
world, to be
switched
honest.
up. He he signed a deal with DAZN, didn't he? He switched off of Sky Sports.
He's
I wasn't sure how that
yeah,
worked.
he's kind of he came out basically today, the last few days, saying, well, nothing's been confirmed yet, but you could see in Eddie's eyes
Okay.
that I think DAZN, he's kind of been building the platform, isn't he? You know, he's got Canelo
Yeah.
on there, Triple G sat there nicely. Anthony Joshua's probably going to be one of the big heavyweights
Oh
in there
yeah.
as well.
He's one of the biggest superstars in the world right now for sure.
So,
What do you feel about that fight coming up? How
oh,
you feel
mate,
about
you
that
can't
Tyson
chuck
Fury
that at me.
Wilder fight? I have to ask the question. I do.
Well, it looks like the show has turned.
Yeah, now I'm interviewing you.
Yeah. Oh, mate, it's one of those. It's one of those where each week it can change. You know, you speak to someone else, and they say, "Oh yeah, Tyson Fury." After the way he basically annihilated Wilder in the second fight,
Hmm.
but then you look at Joshua with his boxing ability in his last fight against Pulev. They've both shown different sides. You know,
Yeah.
so
Match. Hey, styles make fights.
yeah,
Styles always make
100%.
fights. So you just have to see what happens when they get in the ring. I mean, I think once again it's a 50-50 fight. Flip a coin. Any man can win on any given night. So I
Yeah.
think that's gonna be a great one. I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, especially in the heavyweight division, one punch
Mhm.
changes everything,
Oh
as we
gosh,
know.
yeah.
And yeah, but I personally, the first fight, I think if it goes abroad, which it sounds like Saudi Arabia possibly on the cards, I think Tyson. I think he's got his boxing ability and his movement for a guy that's what borderline 18 stone.
He's
It's
oh my
frightening.
gosh, he's huge. Yeah.
6'9". It's something special. So
Hmm.
I think he'd possibly nick it if it goes abroad because he seems to be the guy that will just go anywhere he wants to fight.
Yeah.
But we'd love
Oh,
to see it at Wembley. We'd love to
oh,
see it at Wembley.
oh my gosh, that would be huge.
You know, when are we going to get the opportunity for another two British fighters to?
Yeah, I feel like it's big for British boxing in general, just them coming together and fighting for it all. It's gonna be great.
But you know, before we go, what's your prediction? You can't just chuck it at me.
Oh, I probably Tyson Fury. Just after watching how he did Wilder and how hard Wilder hits, I don't think Joshua is quite the puncher that Wilder is. I think he definitely edges him out on boxing ability, but I think Tyson Fury is gonna sit on the outside and just land hard shots, and I don't know if Joshua is gonna be able to take it. So that's who I'll probably stick with too, is Tyson Fury. But once again, just hope for a great fight and watch two guys go to battle.
Yeah, no. Well, you said it better than I did.
Yeah,
So you've sold it. You've sold it.
yeah,
But
there we go.
yeah, game over. No, honestly, Ty, thanks for coming on. And as I say, I really, really appreciate your time. I know you're busy with your training. You've got your camp going ready for your next fight. Well, pretty much in your garden.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, it's close.
Yeah, it's. I wish you all the best, mate. And hopefully, you know, if it gets shown on anything, you have to send us a link or let us know if it's going to be showed on anything. Are you aware of any channel?
Well, probably not this one. I know a lot of the other fights on the show are going to be shown on UFC Fight Pass. I've had a couple UFC Fight Pass fights in the past, but this one is more of like I'm the special attraction because it's a local show. But going forward, I'm going to have fights, I'm sure, on Showtime. I'm going to have fights on Ring City coming up. So it's just a matter of time before we get on stuff like that. But this specific fight, probably not.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, as and when they happen, I'm sure they'll be all over the social medias, and we'll be able to tune in and watch Ty in action. And mate, you'll soon be adopted by the UK if you're. Yeah,
hey, I hope so. I'd love to have that fan base. I know boxing is really big over there, and there's some great fighters that come over there. So any of that fan base I can get and put to Team Short Fuse, I'd be happy to have them.
Yeah, honestly, it's going to happen, mate. It's going to happen. But until then, Ty, honestly, I really appreciate your time, and thanks for coming on. And keep doing what you're doing, mate, because, you know, the 11th win is on the horizon, and then we hope to see you fighting sort of 3 more times for the rest of the year, sort of COVID pending, really.
Yeah, that's for sure. Hopefully COVID and everything comes through. We can stay busy and get to work. But thank you for having me on. I always appreciate guys that have me on stuff like this. And I'll make sure to share it on all my platforms and everything else. So thank you.
No, thanks, Ty, and you take care, mate.
You too, sir.
Thank you. Ty Tomlin. Really looking forward to what he can do in the future. Top youngster who's got a massive future ahead of him. 10 fights, 10 wins, 6 knockouts, and you just know that the 11th win is coming. So we wish him all the best for the future here on JG's Fight Talk, and hopefully we'll see him on here again soon. But if you've liked what you've seen today, go over to YouTube, hit the subscribe button, and check out the rest of the content.
Are you ready?